Nick, can you tell us a little bit more about the album?
Well, the album was started quite a while ago, before we even entered the horrible lockdown of 2020. I managed to get a lot of pre-production and recording done before that happened. But of course, as you can imagine, once that did kick in, it made life much more difficult to complete the album. But because of the wonders of technology, we were able to finish it despite the lockdown. And couple of the musicians did their work remotely and did it through file sharing, which is one of the wonders of technology that you can do these days.
Tell us a little bit about that experience of doing it remotely, because presumably, well, it's probably not necessarily a first, but because I mean, that happens quite a lot these days, but it's certainly different from everyone being in the studio.
Yeah, the initial stages of the recording, you know, a few people were together, but then, as I say, it just got so difficult, we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But actually it worked quite well, because with the technology like this, you can have a camera in the room where the person's recording, and so it's basically doing this kind of thing as well to help with the production of the recording, so you can give some guidance, you know, in real time, and that's always helpful to the musician.
Now, the album's quite deep. It's called Cycles of Behaviour. Why did you choose that title?
Well, it's all to do with in the initial stages of writing the music. It was about trying to come to a situation where the music would reflect the current world situation. And I just felt at the time that, you know, history was repeating itself, you know, and behavior within people, and we don't learn from our mistakes of the past, and things come round again, which, you know, in some respects you would hope they didn't come round again. So the conflicts we have in politics and so forth, you know, reminded me of that. So that phrase was, I think, was a kind of a useful phrase for the concept of the album, really.
Who did you work with on the album?
Well, initially I worked with John Hackett, who people know as being Steve Hackett's brother. John and I go back quite a while, many years now. We've been working together in various combinations of ensembles and groups. And within the last sort of 5 or 6 years, I've been actually guitarist within John's band, the John Hackett band. And John was very helpful in helping me put the initial recording together. And also he contributed some ideas, which was really helpful as well in the process of writing the music. Yeah, so that was the initial stages of everything, and then I wanted to expand it to include other musicians that I felt could bring something to the table, as it were. Initially, it was Dave Bainbridge, who most people know from his work with, you know, Life Signs and Straubs and all those kind of those bands that he's with today, and his own work as well with Celestial Fire and Iona. He came and did some keyboards, and I got Russ Wilson, who's a fantastic drummer who plays with the Book of Genesis and the Genesis Visible Touch tribute bands. So he's got all those wonderful sort of, you know, progressive rock, you know, licks and chops in his arsenal of playing. So that was great to have him on board. Tim Harries plays bass. Tim used to play with Bill Bruford many years ago in a band called Earthworks, and he also used to play with Steel Eye Span. So he was a great person to get on board as well. And I've got a friend called Caroline Bonnet, who's a producer, and Caroline came and basically put some keyboards to it and mixed and mastered the album and basically put it all together and made it into the package that it is. Sure.
Now, you're also an esteemed classical guitarist. People sing your praises. You've done quite a bit of that, right? Classical guitar.
Right.
Tell us a bit about it.
My career path has been a bit sort of a mixture of all sorts of things. I started out actually as a rock guitarist. That was my initial sort of interest in music. And then I kind of developed into the classical a little bit later as I got a bit older. And in my early 20s, I basically became a session musician, doing lots and lots of sessions, doing various kinds of music for all sorts of you know, music. And then I also developed a career as a solo artist, as a classical guitar player. And then I started writing a lot for the classical guitar, and which has been interesting because I've had a lot of sort of exposure on things like Classic FM and Radio 3, which is a bit different from the rock side of things.
Do you have albums out for the classical guitar?
Yeah. I've got several classical recordings that are available. Yeah, sure. Well, the latest one I did was about 18 months ago, called Journey Continues, and I did another one called Shadowlands, Moment of Stars, Cathedral of Dreams, Blue Horizon. So there's quite a number of classical recordings. Yeah.